learning today. Be'ezras Hashem. Today's daf is daf mem tes. It's a small daf, and it's just clearing up a few things over here that we were just beginning to discuss yesterday. We're going to start from mem ches amud beis. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 15 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Akiva Omer. Basically, what the Gemara is discussing is a source. There are two people who are super holy people in this Chumash. One is the Kohen Gadol, and hold on. Hi, Alan. We just began. Alan.
Okay, thank you.
We're on Mem Chesam Beis, about 15 lines from the bottom. Rabbi Akiva Omer. Basically, it's a small daf, and it'll go rather quickly. But basically, what the Gemara is discussing is the source for the two of the most holiest people in the Chumash, the Nazir and the Kohen Gadol. Both the Nazir and the Kohen Gadol, the Torah says they cannot be metama to a mace, whether it's a stranger or even their own relatives. They're not allowed to go to the levaya of their own relatives. No, they can't be metama to their own relatives. But there's an exception. The exception is if it's a mace mitzvah. And Alan, we were discussing just off the record is a mace mitzvah for a Kohen Gadol or Nazir also implied by if it's a non-Jewish person that's stuck in the desert, and does the Kohen Gadol have to bury that, or is mace mitzvah only exclusively by Jewish bodies? So we're not sure about that. But be that as it may, there's the Chumash gives a source for Nazir and a Kohen Gadol that there's an exception. If they find a mace, if they're walking in a desert and they see a dead body, they're required to bury that dead body. It's called a mace mitzvah. So we learned yesterday. Let's learn the pasuk by Kohen Gadol. We just discussed Rabbi Shmuel's version of darshaning the pesukim. Rabbi Shmuel said that it says by a Kohen Gadol. Here's a Kohen Gadol on the screen. He's not allowed to be metama to his relatives, because obviously a Kohen Hedyet was not allowed to be metama to a stranger, and a Kohen Gadol, the Chumash adds, he's not allowed to be metama to even his relatives. So he's one step above a regular Kohen Hedyet. Then the Chumash gives you extra words. He's not allowed to be metama to his father or mother. So these words are extra. What do you learn from the Aviv Li'imoy? So we had yesterday that Rabbi Yishmael says from Aviv you learn that he's only to his father he's not allowed to be matama to, but to a mace mitzvah. If he sees a mace there on the floor and nobody's there to bury it, he is required to bury that mace mitzvah. That's what you learn from the Aviv. What do you learn from Li'imoy? Li'imoy is also extra according to Rabbi Yishmael by Kohen Gadol. That teaches you that a Kohen Gadol is like a Nazir. In what way is a Kohen Gadol like a Nazir? That just like a Nazir is only usher to be metama to a dead body, but he can touch a mitzaira, a live person who's a mitzaira. So also a Kohen Gadol is the only problem is a dead body he can't touch, but a mitzaira he's permitted to touch, and that's called the Gezer Shava of Rabbi. Imai. It says here Imai, and it says by Nazir Imai, and therefore it's a Gezer Shava. Now let's go to the psukim of Nazir, and then we'll finish. That was just to discuss a few things about Nazir. Here by Nazir it says al nafesh meis lo yavoy. It says he can't be metama to a dead body. So it implies that he cannot be metama to a stranger. How do you know to kroiv him? So there the Chumash says la'aviv. According to Rabbi Shmuel, la'aviv teaches you that he cannot be metama to kroiv him. So now, once you tell me that he can't be metama to his own father, you don't need to tell me that he can't go to his own mother, or brother, or sister. Lo yitama b'hem. They're redundant. They're extra. Yeah, but once you tell me he can't be metama to his father, so of course li'ima he can't be metama to. So what does li'ima teach you? The Gezer Shava of Rabbi. This imai is extra to teach you that Nazir has to teach Kohen Gadol something. That just like Nazir is because it says b'moisam. By Nazir it says the word b'moisam, and b'moisam teaches you that only if a dead body he can. Here I'm just highlighting it. The word b'moisam teaches you only a dead body they have a problem with, but not if it's a Mitzvah. So it teaches also by a Kohen Gadol, also only dead bodies, not Mitzvah. What does La'achiv teach you? La'achiv teaches you Meis Mitzvah. That a Nazir, here's the source by a Nazir who sees the Meis Mitzvah, he also has to bury the Meis Mitzvah. And you don't say, they speak about this question. Why don't you say that Kohen Gadol should teach Nazir that Meis Mitzvah is okay? Why do you need La'achiv, a special drasha to teach you by Nazir that he should be metama to a Meis Mitzvah? That's a side question. But the point is that there's a pasuk, even by Nazir, he should be metama to a Meis Mitzvah. What do you do for La'achoisoi? Achoisoi is totally redundant by Nazir. That teaches you another idea. What idea does that teach you? That if a man is on a regular Yisrael, is on his way to do the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, or he's doing the mitzvah of Milah on his son, these are very special mitzvahs that if you waste your time and you don't do them, you get kares. So and you're about to do the mitzvah, and then they told you that a relative of yours died. Let's say a person's father died, and so there's a mitzvah to attend your father's funeral. So because lo yitama, so the Torah tells you that I would think that you should attend that mitzvah. That you should not attend. You don't go to Levi Zavaya, and you continue on with the mitzvah of you continue on with doing the mitzvah of Pesach and Milah. That's what it says. Is pischai v'shama shemes loy meis. So you have an essay to go to your father's levaya. Yochel yitama, kamarta lo yitama. Don't be metama. Continue doing your Korban Pesach and have other people take care of the levaya of your father. Okay, but again, Chaisai teaches me that he's metama l'meis mitzvah. Okay, now we go another way to darshan the psukim by Nazir. Now, by Nazir it says like this. By Nazir it says like this. According to Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva darshans Nazir nefesh elu rachaykim meis elu akroivim. Let's bring up the pasuk. According to Rabbi Akiva, Kol yemei hazir al Shem al nefesh meis lo yavoy. It says two words. Nefesh means he can't be metama to a non-relative. Meis, a dead relative. So from one pasuk you learn both relatives, non-relatives, and relatives. So according to Rabbi Akiva, right away, aviv is extra, and the whole pasuk is extra, because I already know from the previous pasuk that you can't be metama to your relatives. So how does he darshan? What's his way of darshaning this pasuk? So Rabbi Akiva says, la'aviv le'imai, for both, la'aviv le'imai, from that both, from both, you learn it from la'aviv le'imai, that he can't be metama to his father and mother, but he could be metama to a meis mitzvah. So Nazir could be metama to a meis mitzvah. What does Rabbi Akiva do with the word la'achiv to his brother? She'im hoya kohen gadol v'hu Nazir. This la'achiv teaches you another idea, that if the kohen gadol was both, if the Nazir was a kohen gadol, now how could a Nazir be a kohen gadol? Let's say he made himself a Nazir first, and then he didn't complete his Naziris, his day number 15, and they gave him the appointment to be the kohen gadol. So now he's double holy, double super holy. So I might think that he doesn't, for a meis mitzvah, he wouldn't go because he has two holiness on him. So that we darshan l'ochiv ein metama. This type of person cannot be metama to his brother. Metama is a meis mitzvah, but he also is required to be metama himself for a meis mitzvah. What does Rabbi Akiva do with the la'achoi soy? Tanya. That teaches you arei shahaya haylach lishchai is pischai v'lamalos b'noi. That is if he's going to shecht his son and mala his son, shecht his Pesach, mala his son, he should not attend to his father's levaya. He should continue being mala shecht the Korban Pesach and mala his son, because they're very strong mitzvah saseh, because they have a mitzvah saseh sheyesh by karas. Now the Gemara asks a question. If you notice, between Rabbi Akiva is missing something. Rabbi Akiva needs Nazir to teach Kohen Gadol that Nazir to teach Kohen Gadol that he's not supposed to be metama lemeis, that he's not only lemeis but not for mitzayra. So Rav Kiva Gezer Shava the Rebbe Minali. How does he know the idea of Gezer Shava the Rebbe? How does he know? Which word is extra now? Because to teach you that Nazir is supposed to teach Kohen Gadol that a Kohen Gadol, if he touches a mitzayra, that there's no isser for a Kohen Gadol to touch a mitzayra. How does he know that idea? Amalach Rabbi Kiva will tell you, Kiva in the Amamar, since we said before, Im hoya Kohen Gadol v'Nazir la'ach v'ein mitama aber mitama hu l'meis mitzvah mali Kohen Gadol l'chudei u'mali Nazir v'Kohen Gadol. According to Rabbi Akiva, I don't need a posik to teach me by Kohen Gadol. He could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. Since I have la'achiv by Nazir to teach me that if the Nazir was a Kohen Gadol, he could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. Certainly, if he was just a Kohen Gadol alone, he could be mitama to a meis mitzvah. Therefore, according to Rabbi Akiva, you have extra words by over here. Le'imai is going to be extra. You don't need this la'aviv le'imai to teach you meis mitzvah, because la'aviv le'imai I don't need by a separate pasuk to teach you meis mitzvah by a Kohen Gadol, because we already know that from Nazir, that if a Nazir was a Kohen Gadol, he's metam l'meis mitzvah, so a Kohen Gadol by himself should be metam l'meis mitzvah. So la'aviv le'imai is extra. That teaches you, according to him, according to Rabbi Akiva, that can teach you the Gzeir Shava of Rabbi. So both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael both have the Gzeir Shava Rabbi from Imai. But the question is, why does Rabbi Akiva need also Aviv to teach you the Gzeir Shava of the Rabbi? We'll see that in a moment. Now the Gemara asks one question on Rabbi Yishmael. But Rabbi Yishmael, Koyem Gadol Hu Nazir Menazir. How does Rabbi Yishmael, since he used up all the psukim of Nazir, how would he know that if a Nazir became a Kohen Gadol, would he know that he shouldn't be metama? He should be metama to a meis mitzvah. He's not exempt from that. So the Gemara says Rabbi Yishmael doesn't need this pasuk to teach me that idea, because even the Sharle Rachmon Echad La Begabe Meis Mitzvah, since the Torah said that if he was just a Nazir, he should be metama to a meis mitzvah, and the Torah is telling you violate or override the lav of being a Nazir and be metama to a meis mitzvah. So mali chad lav, mali trev lav. What do I care if he had one lav, if he's just a Nazir, or if he's just a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir? It's obvious, it's logical that he could be metama to a meis mitzvah. I don't need a separate pasuk for that. That's the answer that the Gemara gives. Now the Gemara goes back to Rabbi Akiva. What does Rabbi Akiva do with the word la'achoisoi? Achoisoi lamali. What does that choisoi teach you? Again, by a Nazir. What does that teach you? So Gemara, I would have thought Kisha Rachman Meis Mitzvah Nazir v'Kohen Yisur Lavri. I would think that only a Meis Mitzvah a Nazir Kohen could violate, because what's the worst that's happening over there? They're violating an Isur Lav. What's the worst if you violate an Isur Lav? You get Malchus. But Aval Mila or Pesach. But if a regular guy is on his way to do a Mila and Pesach, and you tell me that if there's a meis mitzvah, he should not attend his father's levaya, but if there's a meis mitzvah, he should stop doing the Korban Pesach and stop doing the Mila, I might think not. I might think lo yatam la meis mitzvah. He should not be mitam, not be mitam to meis mitzvah. Continue doing your Korban Pesach, continue doing your Mila, because both of these mitzvahs say get karas. That in that situation, if it's a meis mitzvah, you have to violate and not do this essay of eating or bringing the Korban Pesach and bury the meis mitzvah. So there's no way out of a meis mitzvah. That's what we're learning over here. A Kohen Gadol Nazir, or even a guy doing a Korban Pesach and Mila, there's no way out of a meis mitzvah. And basically we squared away the psukim of Nazir and the psukim of Kohen Gadol, each according to Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael, how you darshan those words. By Nazir, by Kohen Gadol, it says extra words la'aviv l'imai, and by Nazir, it may say extra words la'aviv l'imai la'achiv l'achosei, 4 extra words. Now we go to Daf Mem Tesam and Aleph. Ula Rabbi Akiva, according to Rabbi Akiva, we don't need you to teach me by a kohen gadol a mace mitzvah, right? Michte. Loishna kohen gadol lechude. It doesn't matter if you're just a kohen gadol. Loishna kohen gadol hu nazir. Even if you're a kohen gadol, if you're nazir that became a kohen gadol, you're matama to a mace mitzvah. And where do you know that? Nafkim la'achiv. He learns it from la'achiv, right? That la'achiv teaches you that even a regular kohen gadol, the la'achiv by nazir teaches you that even if you're just a regular kohen gadol, you matama mace mitzvah. Mace mitzvah overrides kohen gadol. So the question is, la'aviv li'imay lameli. Why do you need both father and mother by a kohen? In other words, you're right. By kohen, I need li'imay to teach you a gzeira shava to nazir, that a kohen gadol could be mitama to metzora. But why do you have to write la'aviv? Right? Why write la'aviv? Just write li'imay la'yatama, and the extra word li'imay is gzeira shava, and that should be enough. Answers the Gemara, because you might make a mistake. Really, you don't have to write la'aviv by kohen, but because of aviv, if the Torah just wrote father, havimina, hainu tama deloy mitamala, I would think that the reason why you don't be mitama to your father, and let's go. This question is also by the aviv by nazir. I just want to bring up the pasuk la'aviv. According to Rabbi Akiva, the aviv teaches you mace mitzvah. But why do you need li'imai to teach you mace mitzvah? If you notice, Rabbi Akiva said both la'aviv teach you mace mitzvah. So by nazir, it should just say aviv. By kohen, it should just say imai. So the answer is ikas of rachmana aviv. If we just say that a nazir could be mitama to his should not be mitama to his father, that a nazir is not mitama to his father, the reason why a nazir should not attend his father's funeral, because who knows if it's your father's? Who knows who's the father? We assume that a father and mother, the father is the father of this child, because Roiv Be'ilos go after the mother, but you're not 100%. It's just an assumption. Aval Imai, a nazir's mother, there were witnesses that this baby came out of this mother, right? It was born. The Yodin Dilotse, everybody knows that this nazir came out of his mother. I would think Li Tamila, he should be mitama to her. That's why the Torah had to write Li Imai, that even a nazir should not be mitama to his mother. But really, from the word aviv, you learn that he should be mitama to a mace mitzvah. But if that, it would lead me to a mistake, thinking that a nazir should be mitama to his mother. That's why the Torah wrote by a nazir, he shouldn't be mitama not to his father and not to his mother. The ikos of Rachmona, if the Torah would write by a kohen gadol, li'imai, if it would just write imai, and imai by a kohen is just for the gzeira shava, and not write father, havamina imad loy mitamala. I would think that a mother, the kohen should not be mitama to your mother. Why? The lav also zara basra, because most children, their shavit doesn't go after their mother, so therefore don't be mitama to your mother. You're not as related to your mother. Aval aviv, but your father, the family goes after the father. So you're a shavit, you know which shavit you are based on what your father comes from. So ema l'tamala, that's why I would think that a kohen should be mitama to his father. Kamash malam, that no, the kohen should not be mitama to his father. So that's why Rabbi Akiva needed both aviv v'imai by nazir and aviv v'imai by kohen, because you could make a mistake that each one, if you just wrote me one word to teach you a special din, I might make a mistake that either to his father he could be mitama to, or his mother he could be mitama to. Okay, now the Gemara asks one more question, and then we go to a brand new Mishnah. Gemara asks, it says by a kohen gadol, I'll call nafshos meis lo yavai, and we said that this teaches you he cannot be mitama to kroivim. So why does it say that he should not come to wherever there's a dead body? And that says you can't be mitama to kroivim. What's the al kol nafshos? The Gemara wants to darshan. It seems extra, these words. On all. What does on all teach you? What does nafshos plural teach you? So we're going to darshan that once we're finishing up the story of Kohen Gadol. Lomali, what does that teach you? So we go to Mentesa Mabeis. Alcohol teaches you lapuki rechoikin. That teaches you that that a kohen should not be metama to people who are not, he's not related. Mace teaches you lapuke kroivim, that even a relative he's not allowed to be metama to. Okay, therefore that's why la'aviv li'ima is extra by, according to Rabbi Akiva, by kohen. But what does Nafshos teaches you? Nafshos teaches you that not only is a kohen not allowed to go where there's a dead body, but he's not allowed to go where there is like a couple of ounces, 3.3 ounces of blood there. Wherever there's 3.3 ounces of blood, it's metama the whole room. And not only 3.3 ounces of one dead body, but let's say the blood is mixed from two different people, the kohen can't enter that room. La puke revias dam sheyotzu mishnei mesim. If you have a revius of log, which is like a kiddush cup of blood that came out of two dead bodies, shemetama ba'oil. That's metama as soon as you walk into the room. Shenema akol nafshos meis lo yavai. Even if it comes from a plural, from two different bodies, he cannot go. What is the soul of a body? The soul of a body is its blood. And the Torah says that even if it comes from a half a cup from one body and a half a cup of blood from another body, if they form a revius, right, then that just the blood being in the room is metama the whole room, and the kohen cannot walk into that room. Next Mishnah, let's go on to the new Mishnah. So basically, what we just discovered over here is till now we finished off the sugya of Meis Mitzvah. Now we're coming back to Nazir again. Al elu hatumas hanazir megaleah. If the Nazir touches any of the following dead bodies or parts of corpses or whatever, the Nazir will have to take a haircut. And remember, it takes him 7 days to purify himself by touching these dead bodies, and he has to restart the count and bring carbonis. So the Mishnah says like this, and that's called taking a haircut, because you have to take a haircut and then restart the count again. Al hames, if he touches a corpse, okay, an entire dead body, Val kazayis minames, or even if he touches, let's say 1 ounce or 1.5 ounce of a dead body, of the flesh of a dead body. Now, if you tell you, then the Nazir is considered tamei. Now the Gemara is going to right away ask, if you already tell me a kazayis minames, if you just have an olive size of flesh that the Nazir can't touch, certainly you can't touch an entire dead body. So we're going to understand that in the Gemara. Bal kazayis. Netzel. We're missing the word netzel here. It means the fluid. If you take flesh and melt it down and make it liquidy, the Nazir touches that in a cup, let's say, then he also becomes tamei. Baal beloy tarved rekev. Not only, by the way, not only if he touches it, but even if he just enters the room where that's there, he enters the mortuary. So then the morgue, he can't be there. Baal beloy tarved rekev. Or if, let's say, they have a spade or shovel full of dust from corpse dust. It's from the flesh that turned into dust. Ala shidra. Or let's say there's just in the room a spinal cord, a spine of a human. So just being in the room, the Nazir can't be. Al gigoilus. Let's say there's a skull in the room. He can't go into the room. Al aver minames. Or he touches one limb from a dead body. Let's say one of the 248 limbs or one of the 248 bones of a dead body, as long as the bone has a little bit of meat and a little bit of veins, right? A little of veins and an artery or two or a sinus. So then it's metama. It doesn't have to have a kazayas basar. Al eva menachai. Or let's say it didn't come from a dead body, even if like a top of a pinky fell off of a human, that's also sheyesh Allah basa karoi. That both is the scenarios. If it had a little flesh on it, it needs a little flesh. It can't be just a bone. It has to be a little bit of flesh. Then it's then the Nazir, if he enters that room, it becomes tamei. Valchatzi kav atzamois, or a half a kav of bones. Now, half a kav of bones. A kav is 1.2 liters. So imagine a soda bottle So if you have a half a soda bottle of crushed bones in there, so then that would be mitama ba'oil. The truth is, even if it was just a quarter of a liter, even a third of a liter would be mitama ba'oil. But for a nazir to restart the count, you need a half a kav. That's a halacha l'Moshe ben Sinai. Okay, and not just any bones of the body. It has to be a little bit of every bone in the body. That you have, imagine like a half a soda bottle full of crushed bones that were part of most of the bones of the person's body. V'achatzi loy dam. Again, if you have a half a log of dam, so that is that's like 6 ounces, 6.6 ounces of blood. Now, even though 3.3 ounces could be mitama ba'oil, but to really mess up a nazir, and for him to restart the count and bring karbonis, you need a half a log of dam. So all these things, val magoin, masoin, val ahilon, val ahilon. So they metame you on maga, masa, and oil. You touch them, you carry them, or you're in the same room as them, or they just flew over you, then that nazir becomes tameh. Now, el etzem kisoira, if the nazir touches a bone that's the size of a barley, so a bone the size of a barley is not mitama the whole room. You have to actually al magoy if he touches it, bal masoy or carries it. Let's say it's on a tray. There's a bone on a little bone in a little tray. If the nazir carries it, he becomes tameh. So the Gemara.
What if he walks over it?
No, that it's only maga and masa. Only if he touches it. Right. This kid, right. Sometimes they have these implants. The bone is like a little, a tiny bone from a human. So Kohen cannot touch it, but he can, be in the same room as it. Now, remember, for bones, you need like a roiva kavat somis to mitam the room. It has to be most of a quarter of a third of a soda bottle for a bones. Al elim and nazir megaleach, if the nazir happened to get involved with all these cases, mazel sprinkles the par of duma on the 3rd and the 7th day. V'sois is a koidmin. Whatever he counted is falls away. He has to restart the count. The ein and maschalimnois elachiyiter, or maybe as korbanosov. He doesn't start the count he doesn't start the count until he actually is purified and brought his karbanos. One more minute, and then we'll just end off over here with the question that we discussed when we listened to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that the nazir cannot touch the dead body, an entire dead body, or even the flesh the size of an olive of a dead body. Now the Gemara is dealing with a question. Rameir passed away. Now Rameir passed away and he didn't have children, or his children died in his lifetime, so the yeshiva closed down. So the Rabbi Yehuda said to his students, Al Yakonsi Talmidei Rameir Lekam. Don't let the students of Rameir's yeshiva enter my yeshiva. Because they're vexatious. In other words, they're too sharp, and they're too sharp. And they're not going to come to learn Torah. They're going to overwhelm me with halachas. Apparently, Rabbi Meir had a different style of learning than Rabbi Yehuda. And once you spend time in Rabbi Meir's yeshiva, coming to Rabbi Yehuda's yeshiva is just going to be a problem for Rabbi Yehuda. So he didn't want anybody who had on his resume that he learned in Rabbi Meir's yeshiva. So Dochak Simchas v'nuchnas, Simchas pushed himself in, and he got into the yeshiva. All right, I don't know, maybe he had a relative that got him in. Anyway, Amalahem, so Simchas said, Kachshon Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir taught this mission that we learned, Al Elu Tumas HaNazir Megalea, that the Nazir cannot touch, and he takes a haircut on the following tumas. Alames, if he touches a corpse. Al Kazayas Minames, if he touches just an olive size of the corpse. Rabbi Yehuda got angry. V'amalahem, and he asked him, you like kachamarti lechem, I told you, al yakonsi talmidei Reb Meir lekam, don't let any student of Reb Meir come into my yeshiva, because they're vexatious. Why? Al kazayas minameis megalayach, if you're telling me, the Mishnah tells me that for an olive size of flesh, you megalayach, so certainly if it's an entire corpse, it should be a problem for a nazir. So Rabbi Yehuda didn't have the girsa al hameis. He just had the girsa al kazayis min hameis. So Rabbi Yehuda was very angry that they allowed Rabbi Meir's student into the yeshiva, who said that the Mishnah does say al hameis. So tomorrow we'll discuss how Rabbi Meir would have answered this question. How do we read the Mishnah according to Rabbi Meir? Okay.